Good morning and welcome to the Financial Alchemist. And today I'm going to share with you the 7 levels of wealth. Now, with that said, I'm coming at this from an American perspective, so if you're watching me from another country, go ahead and drop it below in the comment section to let me know where you're watching from. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So, level 1, this here is poverty. You have literally nothing. You're unable to pay your bills. The money you earn is less than the money you have to pay out. Typically, people at this level are in debt and they're getting further and further and further into debt. They're not really planning on paying it off anytime soon. Also, they typically rely on charity and welfare just to get by. Also, they have no savings and no emergency funds. They have nothing. Every single day is a disaster, is an emergency. And then also, these people are living in constant stress. Like everything stresses them out because they literally have nothing to fall back on. Every minor inconvenience is an emergency. Level 1 is a place where if you are, you should be in absolute panic mode and focus on getting out as soon as you can. Level 2. This is where you're stable, but you're not really getting further ahead. At level 2, this is where you're living paycheck to paycheck. You do make enough money to pay your bills, but there's nothing left over. Usually, you are living with extra stress. I'm not going to say everything is stressful, but you do have higher than average stress levels because you don't really have anything extra. You have very little savings, usually less than $1,000. And right now, I'd say about 2/3 of Americans fall into level 2. This is where they have less than $1,000 in the bank and they live paycheck to paycheck. So level 2 is better than level 1, but you don't want to stay here for long. If you're in level 2, you do want to focus on getting out as soon as you can. Also, level 2 typically has lots of debt, and they're making minimum only payments on said debt. They're not paying it off with any great speed. They're just gradually paying it off a little bit by little bit. And so if you're level 2, it's, not a good place to be, but, if you find yourself there, you can improve. Next, level 3, this is the first good group to be in. This is the group where you're growing. Usually, if you've just started your savings journey, you're just starting to grow, you haven't really made it anywhere yet, but you're on the right track. And so your savings account is between $1,000 to $10,000. And so again, you've just started saving in the past year or so. You've got a few $1,000s saved. It's not a lot, but it's a good place to begin. It's kind of like this man in this chart here, where you're right here, but you're projected to go up and up and up. So in a few years, you're going to be doing a lot better than you are now because you're on a good trajectory. You are growing. Usually a savings rate of 10 to 20% is very common for level 3 because if your savings rate is less than 10%, what you find at that group is one small emergency wipes out what you have. So if you have, say, a 5% savings rate, you're probably still in level 2 because all it takes is one emergency to spend everything you have. If you're saving 10 or 20%, at that point, you're saving enough that you can cover those emergencies and have some leftover money. Also, this group, either you have no debts at all, or if you do have debts, you're paying them off fast. You're not just making minimum payments on your debt, you are actually overpaying your debt. You're planning on paying them off years ahead of schedule. So that's another big factor there for level 3. And also the last one here is they're optimistic about their future. Like level 1, level 2 are usually very pessimistic about their future. But if you're in level 3, you're optimistic. You know you're going to be doing better in the future than you are today. Now level 4, this is the place where you were in level 3 for a while, but you've been doing it for several years. Now you're straight up accumulating wealth. You are level 4. Usually your savings rate is above 20% when you've gotten to this stage, or you're the owner of a successful small business. Either way, you're actually able to save quite a lot of money every year. I would say for this group, you have a liquid net worth of between $10,000 and $100,000. Now, a liquid net worth would not include the value of your house. This would be like the value of stocks and bonds, any savings accounts you have, that kind of thing. Because, this is things that you can readily convert into cash. You've got, tens of thousands of dollars readily convertible into cash. You have a good savings rate. You're doing pretty good for yourself. I'd say level 4, most people are in their 30s or 40s at this point, whereas level 3 is more so in your 20s or 30s, because as you get older, you have a chance to accumulate more wealth. Usually level 4, people in this stage are already starting to plan ahead for their retirement, or thinking about retiring early, maybe retire at 55 instead of retiring at 65, because they have extra money, they have a high savings rate, they can pull it off. Also, level 4 is a very low stress lifestyle, because if any emergency happens, you have tens of thousands of dollars to go hire an attorney, do whatever you have to do, make the problem go away. And as soon as the emergency is over, you have a very high savings rate to refill your emergency fund. So it's a very low stress way to live life by focusing on, only buying things you need to buy and saving as much as you can and having a lot of net worth that you're investing. So level 4 is a good place to be if you're like in your 30s, your 40s. That's the goal. But hey, even if you're, say, in your 50s, you're still in level 3, that's fine. So long as you are improving and growing, that's the most important factor. Next, level 5. This is the affluent. This here is what I would consider like upper middle class. Like you're not quite rich, you're not a millionaire, but you're definitely doing very well. So like a lot of doctors and lawyers can be in this group, especially once they've paid off their student loans. And a good example would be the movie Home Alone. The McAllister family was portrayed as being a very affluent family, very upper middle class. They weren't portrayed as being millionaires, but they were portrayed as being very comfortable, very well off. Think of them as level 5. So their liquid net worth is more than $100,000, but less than a million. So like I said, they're not quite millionaires, but they're well on their way to becoming one in just a few years. And typically, either have to be the owner of a successful business or have to have a very solid career. Now, you don't have to make a lot of money per se. Like if you say make $50,000 per year, you can reach level 5 in your 50s. But if you make $100,000 per year, you can reach level 5 in your 30s. So by making more money, you reach level 5 earlier, but you can't reach level 5 even making relatively little income. All right, and typically, for level 5, most of those people are going to be in their 40s at that point, and just because it takes time to accumulate wealth. It takes a lot of time to save money, and so in order for you to accumulate that kind of wealth, you're probably 40 plus years old at that point, which is perfectly fine. If you're in your 40s or 50s, level 5, like you can't retire yet. If you only have a couple $100,000, you can't really retire, at least not in the US. Other countries you can. But if you're in your middle-aged years, 40s, 50s, and you've had a good career for many years, you've been running a business for many years, and you're doing quite well, that's a good place to be. And usually level 5, at this point, you're a homeowner. The average age for a first-time home buyer in the US is 38 years old, and so by the time you're level 5, you probably own a house. Now, I'm not saying you have to own a house to be level 5. Some people choose to rent for life, but most commonly they have a house, then the mortgage may be fully paid off, or at least they're well on their way to paying it off early. That's common. Now, level 6, this is where you're actually rich. This is the wealthy class. You have a liquid net worth of over $1 million between like stocks, bonds, and cash reserves, but your total net worth is over 1 million and less than 10 million. So that means you're a multi-millionaire, but you're not quite a decamillionaire. You have several million, but you're not quite level 7 yet. People this level typically own lots of assets. They may have more than one house. They may own, a boat of their own. They may have like a small aircraft they own, that sort of thing. They own several assets. That's how they're able to have several million of net worth, but only 1 million of liquid net worth. Also, people in this group could afford to retire anytime. Once you have millions of dollars, you could afford to retire. You don't have to work anymore. And the only reason to keep working is if you were actually wanting to keep working. And typically in this age group, most people are going to be over 60 years old. That's because the average millionaire in the US is 62 years old. So by the time you get to this age group, usually you're in your 60s, in your 70s. Either you're about to retire in a couple of years or you've just recently retired. So most people in level 6 are going to be old people. Is it possible to reach level 6 earlier in life? Yes, but it's very difficult to do. Most people won't do it. And quite frankly, most people will never reach level 6 even in their 60s. But for those that did, most of them are older in life. And the last level, level 7. This is the ultra wealthy. Typically, they have a net worth of more than $10 million. Like at this range, we're talking like private jets, mansions, houses in multiple countries, that kind of thing. And usually level 7, they are diversified internationally, meaning people of this wealth level oftentimes are seeking passports for multiple countries. They're buying houses in multiple countries. They have money invested in several countries. Because if you have more than $10 million and all of it's in the same country, and then that country has some sort of a massive change to their system of governance, suddenly they could start, confiscating wealth from the rich in order to, pay for government programs. So you're taking a lot of risk there. Usually people who are ultra wealthy realize this and they start to diversify internationally. And also another thing at level 7 is if you want to get this big, you're going to have to be a large business owner. Like, with level 6, it is possible to achieve it by working a regular job, saving your money for decades. You can reach level 6. But for $10 plus million, you're not going to reach that by working a normal middle class job. You're going to have to be an owner of a very large and successful business in order to get this level of ultra wealthy. And also at this level, they start thinking about things like family legacy, like starting a mansion for your family to live in for generations. Maybe you want to set up your children and grandchildren for success. You're starting to think about things like inheritance. How are you going to pass your money on to your children without paying a lot of inheritance tax, that kind of thing. And so, with that said, it's time for a self-assessment. And it's important to be honest with yourself. You don't want to, put yourself on the wrong level here, but let's go ahead and start off and just say, what stage are you in right now? And be honest, don't say what stage you were in 5 years ago. Maybe you've come down since then. You don't want to say what stage you'll be in 5 years, but at this present moment, what stage are you in? And you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but if you want to, go ahead and put it down below in the comment section. Let me know. I'll be curious to find out. And then next, ask yourself, what stage do you want to be in? Like, ultimately, what stage do you want to end up? Do you want to end up in level 7? Do you want to end up in level 6? Do you plan to end up in level 5? Where do you eventually want to be before you die? And next, do you have a plan? Because in order for you to get there, you're going to have a plan. If you're in level 2 and you don't have much of a plan, you're going to stay in level 2 for your entire life. And that's what most Americans are doing today. So, you have to have a plan and you have to be willing to do what it takes to make the plan happen, which brings me to my last point. Just how determined are you to make your plan happen? For example, a couple of years ago, I was thinking, okay, what am I going to make the main focus of my life? I decided I want to be a homeowner as soon as possible, and I want to do it completely debt-free. I want to be a cash buyer of a house. I don't want to have a mortgage. I want to buy a house and live in a house that I own with no mortgage. And from that moment, it took me almost exactly 3 years to save up enough money to pay cash for a house. This house behind me here cost me $100,000. It took me 3 years to save that kind of money, and I had to move to a different state to make that happen as well. So I decided I was so determined I was going to push everything aside, and I said nothing else matters till I own a house. I'm not going to live life until after I own a house. Well, now that I own it, and life is going great. And so if you have that level of determination, you too can be successful as well. But the determination I'm talking about is like level 6 determination. If you want to be level 7, that takes even more determination. You're going to have to plan ahead to like start a successful business, do very well in that regard, or maybe become like a famous actor or something that can do it too. And you're going to have to be really determined and have a plan if you want to be level 7. Very, very few people ever reach level 7. Lots of middle-class Americans reach level 5 or level 6. That is very doable. I would say personally myself, I'm currently in level 4, and within just, a couple of years, I should be level 5. I'm definitely doing very well for myself, but I'm also young. I haven't had a lot of time to accumulate wealth just yet. So go ahead and drop a comment below the comment section. Let me know what level you're in right now, what level you want to be in. Otherwise, thank you for watching and have a great day.